Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're going to dive deep into a service that really promises to be a game changer for enterprise apps in the cloud, Azure NetApp Files. Let's just jump right in. So here's the big question, right? It's the one that keeps a lot of IT folks up at night. You've got these absolutely critical, performance-hungry applications. Your huge databases, your high-performance computing, and you're thinking, does the cloud really have the muscle for this stuff? And you know what? That's a totally valid concern. Well, here's the answer. Azure NetApp Files isn't just another storage option you can pick from a list. It's a first-party, honest-to-goodness native Azure service. The best way to think about it is enterprise-grade file storage built from the ground up to do all the heavy lifting, and it lives right inside the Azure ecosystem. And believe me, when we talk about heavy lifting, we really mean it. We're talking about the absolute backbone of your business, your mission-critical databases, those super intense computational jobs, massive file shares for the whole company, and even the home directories for thousands and thousands of virtual desktops. I mean, these are the kinds of workloads that just can't afford a performance hit. Okay, so to really get our heads around how it pulls all this off, we're going to break it down into three main areas. First, we'll talk about how it's fast, scalable, and surprisingly cost-effective. Then we'll get into why it's so simple and always available. And finally, we'll cover how it keeps your data secure, managed, and protected. Let's start with speed. All right, first up, performance. This is all about getting that raw, on-prem power, but with all the awesome flexibility you expect from the cloud. The secret sauce here is really bare metal flash performance. What that means is your data is running on an all-flash platform, and you get this incredibly low sub-millisecond latency. Seriously, we're talking about speed that feels like it's running in your own data center, sitting in the rack right next to your servers. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, it means that old trade-off, it's pretty much over. You no longer have to choose between the raw horsepower of your on-prem gear and the agility of the cloud. You can finally run those incredibly demanding applications in Azure without having to sacrifice an ounce of performance. Okay, now check this out, because this is where all that performance actually starts saving you money. Traditionally in the cloud, if your app needed more storage speed, you had to buy a bigger, way more expensive virtual machine just to get its I/O. While Azure NetApp Files completely sidesteps that VM bottleneck. You can actually use smaller, cheaper VMs and just let the storage do the work. I mean, imagine cutting your app's VM costs by 30 or 40% just because of your storage. That's real efficiency. And the scale we're talking about here is just huge. You can create a single volume that can grow all the way up to 1,024 terabytes. I mean, that's a full petabyte of data, all managed as one single thing. It's perfect for those gigantic data sets you see in analytics or genomics research. Okay, so it's powerful, it's scalable, but none of that matters if it's a total pain to manage, right? So that brings us to our second pillar, making enterprise storage totally effortless. And the absolute key to this is that it is a native Azure service. This is not some third-party thing that's just bolted on. It's woven right into the fabric of the platform. And why is that such a big deal? Because it means you manage it just like everything else in Azure. You're using the same portal, the same command line tools, the same APIs that you and your team already know. The billing's integrated, the monitoring's integrated. It's just a seamless experience. There's no new learning curve, it just works. And this focus on simplicity, it becomes an absolute game changer when you start thinking about one of the biggest headaches in IT, planning a cloud migration. What this really means is you can take so many of your on-prem applications and literally just lift and shift them straight to Azure. Why? Because it supports the standard file protocols your apps already speak, like NFS for Linux and SMB for Windows. You don't have to rewrite them. This can save you months, maybe even years of really expensive and complicated refactoring work. All right, last but definitely not least, let's talk about our third pillar, keeping your most valuable asset, your data, safe and sound. So, your first line of defense here is snapshots. And Azure NetApp Files uses these super efficient block-level snapshots that are incredibly fast and, get this, they don't impact performance at all. And the real-world benefit here is huge. It's all about business continuity. If something goes wrong, maybe some data gets corrupted or someone accidentally deletes a file, you can instantly roll back to a point in time when you know everything was good. That means minimizing downtime and protecting the business.
But let's be real. In today's world, data protection has to go way beyond just that. And this is where Azure NetApp Files gets really, really smart, with built-in protection against one of the biggest threats we face today.
Now, what's so cool about this is that it's not just some static defense. It actually uses machine learning to figure out what's normal for your specific workload. Then, if it suddenly sees some weird activity that doesn't fit that pattern, like, say, a bunch of files getting encrypted way too fast, it can send you an alert. It's intelligent, customized protection that makes your whole application way more resilient.
Whew, okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. Performance, simplicity, security. Let's kind of pull it all together and look at the main takeaways. So, number 1, performance. You get that uncompromising on-prem speed, but in the cloud. Number 2, simplicity. It's just another native Azure service, which makes it super easy to use and lets you migrate apps without refactoring. And number 3, security. You've got robust protection from those efficient snapshots all the way up to that smart ransomware protection. So we end with this thought. The old barriers that kept your most critical, performance-hungry workloads out of the cloud, well, they're coming down. The question isn't really if you can do it anymore. The real question is, what new doors does this open up for your business? What are you going to build now that those constraints are gone?